Our daily lives are full of invisible noise, distractions that take form in the endless small tasks, the expectations imposed by others, and the relentless pursuit of external approval. And it is in this constant noise that we lose touch with our essence. Each time we get carried away by this wave of productivity and responsibilities, we move further away from who we truly are. The external world, with its urgency and haste, imposes a rhythm that gradually disconnects us from our higher self, that quiet and profound part of us. This silent sabotage often goes unnoticed. We are so accustomed to measuring our worth by what we accomplish externally that we forget to explore what lies within us. And this disconnection may be subtle, but it is powerful. It leads us to live on the surface, far from our internal truths. There is a wealth of wisdom that can only be accessed when we allow ourselves to pause and listen. But ironically, what we often do is dive even deeper into the external chaos. The excessive focus on what is out there ends up blinding us to the inner journey, where true clarity resides. If there's a way to begin reversing this disconnection, it is through small conscious pauses in our daily life. Simple moments where we can check in with our inner state, breathe deeply, and ask ourselves, am I in tune with who I truly am? No elaborate rituals or long meditations are needed, just the simple practice of silencing the external noise for brief moments and redirecting our attention inward. It is in these small breaks that the higher self begins to emerge, inviting us to come home to our own essence. Have you ever stopped to reflect on your emotions as messengers of your soul? They are not merely automatic reactions to the world around us, but doors that open to our higher self. The anxiety that grips us in moments of uncertainty, the fear that paralyzes us in the face of the unknown, and even the fleeting joy we feel in moments of achievement. All these emotions carry valuable information about who we are and where we are in our inner journey. They reveal, subtly or intensely, where we are connected or disconnected from our essence. Yet, many of us live reactively, allowing emotions to guide us blindly, rather than using them as tools for self-knowledge. When we are led by emotions impulsively, we act without understanding what is truly happening inside us. However, when we stop to listen to what these emotions have to tell us, we realize that they are compasses, pointing to areas where we are misaligned with our inner truth. It is important to remember that negative emotions like fear, insecurity, or sadness are not enemies to be suppressed, but powerful guides. They show us where unhealed wounds lie, where our lives have lost authenticity, and where our higher self is crying out for attention. These emotions can be like arrows pointing to aspects of our life where we need greater self-awareness and reconnection. A practical way to deepen this understanding is to keep an emotional journal. In it, you can record your daily emotions without judgment, simply as an observer. What are your emotions telling you about your choices, your relationships, your routine? When you begin to see them not as obstacles but as messengers, they transform into powerful allies on your path of awakening. By writing about your emotions, you uncover patterns and revelations that were previously hidden, allowing your higher self to communicate more clearly and directly. Our physical body is much more than a vehicle to move through the world. It is the tangible manifestation of our spiritual essence, a mirror reflecting the subtler energies of the mind and spirit. Often, we disconnect the body from our inner being, treating it only as a machine that needs to be kept running. However, when we begin to care for the body with attention and respect, we unlock not only physical health but also the mental and spiritual power that lies dormant within us. The body speaks a language that we are not always willing to hear. Pains, tensions, fatigue, all of these can be a reflection of something deeper, a sign that we are neglecting some part of our inner journey. Just as emotions are messengers of the soul, the body is also a gateway to self-knowledge. It alerts us when we are disconnected from our truth, whether through lack of care or lack of presence. By treating the body with the reverence it deserves, we begin to build a bridge between the physical and the spiritual. Practices like yoga, tai chi, and breathwork are excellent ways to reconnect the body and mind harmoniously. These movements not only strengthen the body but also create a space of inner silence where we can hear our inner voice more clearly. Similarly, conscious eating, restorative sleep, and daily physical movement are ways to align our body with our higher self. When we nourish the body with healthy foods, we give it the necessary support to sustain the spiritual journey. When we rest deeply, we allow the spirit to renew itself. And when we move with intention, we enable the life energy to flow freely within us. A simple yet powerful practice to start reconnecting with the body is conscious breathing. In moments of stress or disconnection, just pause for a few minutes and focus on your breath. Inhale deeply, feeling the air fill your lungs, and exhale slowly, releasing any accumulated tension. This practice not only calms the mind but also restores balance between body and spirit, helping us return to the present moment and realign with our essence. Silence is, without a doubt, one of the most profound gateways to self-knowledge. In a society marked by constant noise, both external and internal, silence has become an undervalued, almost forgotten resource. And yet, it is precisely in silence that our soul finds the space to express itself. When we quiet the world around us, when we interrupt the incessant flow of stimuli, it is then that the voice of the higher self can finally be heard. What often scares us about silence is the inevitable confrontation with ourselves. Without external distractions, we are forced to face what lies within us: our doubts, fears, unfulfilled desires. But it is in this space, where the noise ceases, that we can truly begin to listen to inner wisdom. Quietude reveals what turmoil conceals, and it is in this environment that the answers we seek begin to emerge. Spiritual traditions from around the world, especially Eastern philosophies, have always valued silence as a means of active meditation. It is not just about not speaking or isolating oneself, but about silencing the mind and heart, creating space for introspection. When we practice intentional silence, we allow our thoughts to come and go without attachment, without judgment. It is in this state of observation that we can see what worries are consuming us, what inner voices are truly guiding our actions, and finally, what the soft voice of the higher self is saying, hidden behind all that noise. Starting a practice of silence can be simple. Dedicating just 5 minutes a day to quieting the surroundings, closing your eyes, and listening to your thoughts without reacting to them is a powerful beginning. In these brief moments of solitude, you create a space where your inner truth can emerge. Over time, you will realize that silence is not empty, but full of wisdom and presence. It is a powerful tool for self-knowledge, a return to your essence, where the higher self has always been waiting for your attention. The relationships we cultivate are, in many ways, mirrors of our inner journey. The people we choose to keep close to us reflect the beliefs we have about ourselves, about what we deserve, and about how we perceive our own essence. They can propel us to grow, explore new horizons, and reconnect with our true self, or conversely, they can hold us back in old patterns, keeping us stagnant in past versions of ourselves. Wisdom lies in consciously choosing who we want by our side on this journey of awakening. Healthy, conscious relationships challenge us in constructive ways. They invite us to be authentic, to confront our shadows with compassion, and to continuously evolve. However, it is also true that some connections, often unconscious, serve to keep us in a cycle of repetition, reflecting behavioral patterns that no longer serve us. Setting healthy boundaries is an act of self-love, a recognition that our spiritual energy is valuable and needs to be protected. It is not about pushing people away, but about discerning which relationships nurture our inner journey and which drain our vital energy. The presence of toxic people in our lives can be a significant barrier to connecting with the higher self. These relationships, often marked by manipulation, emotional dependency, or disrespect for our boundaries, distance us from who we truly are. They create an environment of disconnection, where energy is constantly drained, making it difficult to hear the inner voice. Sometimes, the most courageous act on our path to self-knowledge is recognizing when we need to step away from relationships that keep us tied to the past, creating space for new connections that resonate with our spiritual growth. A valuable practice is to reflect on the relationships you currently cultivate. Ask yourself, do these people help me grow, be more authentic? Or do they keep me in old patterns? This type of introspection helps us see whether we are surrounded by relationships that encourage our spiritual journey or, conversely, those that distance us from it. Self-knowledge involves not only looking inward but also examining how external connections impact our inner being. By making conscious choices about who we allow by our side, we create a more fertile environment for the awakening of our higher self. In the vastness of nature, we find a perfect reflection of our own soul. The harmony of the seasons, the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, all of this mirrors the internal process we go through on the spiritual journey. Nature, with its calm and patience, teaches us lessons we often forget amidst the rush and demands of modern life. While we hurry to achieve goals and overcome obstacles, nature follows its course serenely, without haste, yet always moving forward. And as we reconnect with it, we begin to realize that we too are part of this universal cycle, that the wisdom of the higher self is often quiet, constant, and cyclical, like nature itself. When we spend time immersed in nature, something within us awakens. It's not just the calming effect of being surrounded by trees, rivers, or mountains, but the feeling that we are in tune with something greater. Nature reminds us of our own essence, that, at our core, we are beings deeply connected to the natural rhythm of life. The concept of forest bathing, or Shinrin-yoku, is an example of this. It's not just about walking among the trees but immersing oneself in the natural environment with full presence, allowing the energy of the earth and surroundings to envelop and reconnect us to our inner self. This time spent in nature, away from technological distractions and the constant noise of civilization, offers us an opportunity for introspection and renewal. When we observe natural cycles, the rising and setting of the sun, the blooming and withering of plants, the movement of water and wind, we learn about the internal cycles that also occur within us. Just as nature has its seasons, we too go through phases of growth, stagnation, and rebirth. By noticing these similarities, we find a sense of belonging and inner peace, knowing that, like nature, we are always evolving. Incorporating nature into our spiritual journey does not require grand outdoor adventures. It can be as simple as a short walk in a park or a moment of silent contemplation under a tree. The important thing is to be present, observe without distractions, and allow nature to echo the truths that dwell in our higher self. By doing so, we not only reconnect with the earth but also with our deepest essence, which, like nature, moves in harmony with the universe. Time is a paradoxical presence in our lives. It can be both our greatest ally and our greatest enemy depending on how we relate to it. When we live trapped in the past or longing for the future, time seems to slip away as if we are constantly chasing it without ever catching up. However, when we allow ourselves to be fully present in the moment, time expands, creating a sense of peace and clarity. In those moments, time is no longer an external pressure but a natural flow that accompanies our journey of self-discovery. The higher self, that part of us that transcends the ego and everyday concerns, can only be accessed in the present. As long as we are trapped in regrets about the past or anxieties about what's to come, the connection with our true self is lost. It's as if our mind is divided between yesterday and tomorrow, preventing us from living in the now, the only place where spiritual awakening can truly occur. It is in this present moment that we can observe our thoughts and emotions with clarity, without the distortions created by time. Slowing down is an act of resistance in a world that values haste and relentless productivity. Living consciously, with presence, is a practice that requires intention but offers profound rewards. The philosophy of slow living invites us to rethink the way we live, slowing down our actions and thoughts so that we can truly feel life in all its depth. This practice does not mean doing less but doing more with presence. By paying attention to each moment, whether eating, walking, or simply breathing, we train our mind to live in the present, where time becomes an ally rather than a source of anxiety. Mindfulness is a powerful way to cultivate this presence in daily life. Instead of performing tasks automatically, we can allow ourselves to experience each action with full awareness. Eating mindfully, for example, involves fully feeling the taste, texture, and aroma of the food without rushing. Walking mindfully means feeling each step, the contact of the feet with the ground, the air around the body. These simple practices, when done with intention, help us slow down time and reconnect with the essence of the present moment. By doing so, we realize that time does not control us. We choose how to relate to it, and in that relationship we find space to hear the voice of our higher self. Vulnerability, often seen as weakness, is actually one of the greatest demonstrations of strength and courage we can have on our journey of self-knowledge. Showing our weaknesses, admitting our flaws, and opening up to others, and to ourselves, is an act of profound honesty. It is in vulnerability that we find the key to authenticity, for it is through it that we truly connect with our essence. When we try to hide our imperfections, we are, in fact, moving away from who we really are. Society often conditions us to avoid vulnerability, encouraging us to project an image of strength and perfection. However, this facade, built to protect the ego, only creates an internal disconnection. When we close ourselves off to vulnerability, we also block access to the deepest parts of our being, those that need to be recognized and integrated. Vulnerability is not a sign of weakness but a path to healing and the awakening of the higher self. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we free ourselves from the shackles of fear and insecurity and begin to live more authentically. Being vulnerable with oneself is the first step. Looking inward and accepting the aspects of our personality that we consider less desirable, fears, insecurities, doubts, is a practice of compassion and self-awareness. Accepting our vulnerabilities opens the space for true authenticity, where we no longer need to pretend to be something we are not. Instead, we embrace our wholeness with all its ups and downs. This act of accepting our vulnerabilities connects us with our higher self, which is not concerned with perfection but with truth. Encouraging vulnerability in relationships also allows us to create deeper and more genuine connections. When we show our weaknesses to others, we create a space of trust and empathy, allowing them to feel safe being authentic as well. This genuine exchange creates fertile ground for spiritual growth, both individually and collectively. A powerful exercise to cultivate this vulnerability is to keep a personal journal where we can freely express our emotions, fears, and aspirations. Or even have an intimate conversation with someone we trust, without masks, without fear of judgment. Showing vulnerability does not make us weaker. On the contrary, it makes us more human, more whole. Vulnerability is the path that leads us to our essence, allowing us to access the depth of our being. Through it, we find the courage to be true, and it is in this state of authenticity that the higher self can fully manifest. The journey to find the higher self is eternal, a path that never truly ends but unfolds in layers as we move closer, step by step, to who we truly are. Every discovery we make, every challenge we face, and every transformation we experience brings us closer to this essence, to this divine part that dwells within all of us. Spiritual awakening does not happen all at once. It is a continuous process of self-understanding, growth, and connection. And the more we connect with this inner essence, the more our life begins to reflect our true purpose. There is no fixed endpoint on this journey. The higher self is not a destination to be reached but a presence to be lived, a state of consciousness that reveals itself as we let go of the illusions of the ego and external distractions. Every small step we take, every meditation practice, every moment of silence, every sincere connection with others is an advance on this path of self-knowledge. The higher self is always there, waiting to be recognized in every act of vulnerability, in every moment of presence, and in every instance of truth we live. It is important to remember that this journey is not linear. There will be moments of doubt, uncertainty, and apparent stagnation. But these moments are part of the process. They are opportunities to deepen our understanding and to draw even closer to our essence. Spiritual transformation is a cycle, much like the cycles of nature. There are times of growth, introspection, release, and rebirth. And in each cycle, we emerge more connected, more aware, and closer to our true self. Therefore, I encourage you to continue practicing what has been discussed throughout this video. Meditation, reconnecting with nature, moments of silence, reflecting on your relationships. All these practices are ways to access the higher self. It doesn't matter the size of the step. What matters is that you are moving toward your essence. The journey may be challenging, but it is also incredibly transformative, and every small move in the right direction is already a great victory. Remember, the journey towards spiritual awakening is yours, unique and personal. And even though the road is long and sometimes uncertain, every step counts and every step brings you closer to who you truly are. The higher self is not out of reach. It already lives within you, waiting to be unveiled, waiting for you to choose to walk this path with courage and authenticity. If this video has awakened something in you, like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and subscribe to the channel for more insights on how to live your best life. See you next time.